to my channel again for another weekly video. And this week I've decided to sort of do a kind of tips and advice style video as it is approaching exam season, and I know for a lot of you now it will mean that it is serious revision time, whether that's end of school exams or uni exams or whatever that may be. There are a lot of exams going on around this time of year, so I thought I would show you some of my personal tips in terms of revising and what some of the best ways are to get you through these exams and hopefully do your best as well. So to start with, the first thing that I would say that I personally find very useful is making your own notes. I know this may kind of seem like an obvious thing, but I know sometimes it's tempting either to find notes online or just use books that have sort of got pre-notes kind of written for you and things like that. But I actually think that it is worth spending time dedicated to making your own notes, because then it's in your own words, so it's easier for you to understand, and also while you're making the notes you're kind of passively revising it without even realising, because you're rereading the material but so focused on trying to condense it down that you're kind of taking it in without even thinking about the fact that you're taking it in, which can be easier than having to just make yourself sit down and learn it. And also, because they're your own, then it means that you can adapt them how you like, you can set them out how you like, however you find it easier to remember things, and you can add little annotations and diagrams and do whatever you like. And now, sort of kind of moving on to my second point, tying in with that also, I think that it's really key to highlight key things, as if you're someone like me with a very kind of visual take to learning and memory, I always find it so much easier to remember stuff when I've highlighted keywords on a page, because then I can help repicture the page and picture where things are on the page as well, and then that helps me remember the context and what it's actually on about and what it's saying. So I always find that highlighting key phrases and words that you think are really important does really help personally me to pick it up, so that might also help you if you are a very kind of visual learner. Then I definitely recommend doing that, because I know that it's helped me a lot. Now the next thing I would say that is important when revising is actually allowing yourself to take breaks. I know sometimes it can seem very stressful and it may seem like you've got a lot to get through and a lot to get done, but it is important to allow yourself to have that time to actually just sit, and whether that involves just going to get a snack to eat or a drink, or just even scrolling through social media on your phone for a little bit. I wouldn't say that it's a great idea to take breaks in terms of suddenly doing half an hour revision and taking an hour off or something, because the longer you leave off, the harder it will be to come back to it. But by at least allowing yourself little 10-minute breaks every so often, it allows yourself just to absorb everything that you've just read about and gone over, and also just have a rest from trying to add new information to that as well. And it depends on you personally as well. Obviously from person to person it will vary how long you can focus for and how long you can keep going without a break, but it's important not to over push it and get to the point where you're no longer actually taking in anything, because that's kind of pointless just carrying on really. So then it is important to allow yourself that time as well, just to relax and just take a minute to, you know, just sit for a bit, even if that's just sitting staring out the window for 10 minutes. It's really important to make sure that you have that breathing time in between. My next thing, kind of tying in with allowing yourself breaks as well, I also find it very important that you have water with you, because if not, I can sometimes sit there for a while and I'll be going through whatever I'm having to learn, and I'll be sat there for ages trying to learn it, and then I'll get to an hour or so later and realise that I've been sat there, haven't had anything to drink in that meantime, feel really dehydrated, and often if you don't keep hydrated it can lead to headaches, which can only make trying to revise and learn stuff harder. So I always find that it's a great idea to either just keep a big glass of water or a bottle of water on your table, so that you just kind of drink at regular intervals and make sure you stay hydrated. Next thing I would say that's very important to do is to set goals for yourself, as I find that this can make it so much more productive and you feel happy with what you've achieved at the end of it, because you get done as much as you wanted to. So whether this involves setting a time goal in terms of, oh, I'm going to revise this subject for this length of time, or whether it's more getting to a certain point. So I've decided that I'm going to study this today and I want to get this far with it as well, because I sometimes find, for me personally, that that's more useful, setting goals of where I want to get up to, so that I can actually see my progress through the material and that I get to a place where I'm happy that I feel like I've done enough. Because sometimes things can take shorter time, or they can take a way longer time than you may expect, but at least by setting goals of where you want to get to, then it either may be a nice surprise and you're done sooner than you thought, so you can just enjoy the rest of the day, or it may take a little longer, but then at least you can keep pushing through it and get to the point where you're happy with what you've done and that you've achieved what you wanted to do. The next one kind of ties in with that, and that is planning the night before. So I always find it is better to sort of pre-think about what you're going to do the next day in terms of what subjects you're going to study, then setting your goals of where you want to study up until, or how long you want to do it for, and what kind of topics you need to study, and everything kind of like that, so that you don't waste time the next morning or whenever you're about to decide to study, just trying to decide what to do, because sometimes it can be overwhelming if you've got a lot of material to get through. And I know that I'm definitely like that. When I have a lot of stuff to do, I'll sit there for ages just looking at everything that I have to do, rather than trying to do it and just be thinking about what to do when and just stressing about what to start with because it's too much. But at least by sorting it out the night before and knowing what you're going to do the next day, you kind of wake up with that pre-thought in your head and you can just get on with it and do it and get it done with sooner. And then the sooner you start with it, the sooner it's over with, and the more you can enjoy the rest of your day as well. Also, another thing that I find is really important is to sort of establish when you're most productive. So whether that's a certain time scale of hours, or whether it's deciding that you're most productive in the morning or afternoon or in the evening or even at night. I know some people can study late at night and they're just night workers and find it the easiest to absorb information then. But by establishing when you are the most productive, you can then set your revision to start at that time, because you know that if you left it any longer or did it at a different time, you wouldn't benefit from it as much. And that way you can get into the routine of every day doing it at the same kind of time and just build it into your sort of daily schedule that way, and you know that it will be the most productive that you can be during that time. So even if you don't manage to quite achieve the goals that you set or get as far as you wanted to, at least you know that you've been the most productive that you could have been in that time. I know I'm definitely more a morning person for this. Definitely by the afternoon, after lunch, going on to the evening, I really tend to lose focus. So I'll tend to do, if I have a lot to do, I'll do anything that's more taxing and requires more energy and thinking in the morning. There's something that is slightly more chilled in the afternoon, or just have the afternoon off depending on how productive my morning's been. Final thing is kind of just to keep the positivity there, keep reminding yourself. I find what really helps to get me through it in a way is just keep reminding yourself that sooner or later it'll be over. It's over, I'd say, the most extent of any exams, they occur within a couple of months' time. So it will all be over fairly soon and fairly quickly. And then you've also got the thought of the summer is coming up. Once your exams are over, you've got the nice long summer just to relax, no work to do, completely stress-free, and you'll just have that time to do whatever you want. So even when you're stuck inside revising or thinking about the things that you'd rather be doing, because I know I definitely tend to drift off at certain points thinking about things that I could be doing instead of sitting there revising. But you just got to remind yourself you'll have all that time in summer to make up for that and be able to have lots of fun doing whatever you wanted to do then. So just keep pushing through it, do the best that you can, and that way you'll feel the best about it, ensuring that you've been the most productive. And at the end of the day, when you get your results back, even if they're maybe not what you expected or you're slightly disappointed, at least that way you know that you did really all you could and there was nothing more that you could have done to it, and so you won't regret not paying as much attention to your exams as you could have done. and that way you will just really then be able to relax and enjoy the summer as well, because you won't be worrying about getting results, because you know that at the end of the day that's all you could do and that was the best that you could do. So those were my kind of revision and exam tips for you. I really hope that you did find this helpful, and let me know down below any of your kind of tips or revision strategies that you use that really help you to get the best results that you can and really push through the exam period, as I'd love to know any of your ideas as well, adding to my own, because it may benefit me and also others who want to read the comments and find out extra tips as well. And be sure to smash that thumbs up if you did find this helpful and did enjoy this kind of style of video. Let me know if you'd like me to do any other tips or advice style videos in the comments down below and what you'd like to see. And I will be sure to see you next week with another weekly video, and most importantly as well, good luck to anyone who is about to start their exams. I know many people have already kind of started by now or about to start in the weeks coming, so good luck to everyone and I hope you all do well. I'm sure you'll all go amazing, and I will be sure to see you next week with another weekly video. Bye!